My name's Michael Berto, and I currently live in Katherine, and I have been here since 1974. I live here with my wife Barbara, and we've had 4 children over the years since we've been together, and my eldest one is Dean, then came Warren, and then Camille and Cassie. So we have 4 children, and we have today, after all these years together, 10 grandchildren. So we're very happy together, and our life in Katherine has been really, really good for us, and particularly for me. And prior to that, I lived in Darwin with my own siblings and mum and dad, and born and bred in Darwin. And we went to school in our primary years, particularly in Darwin. So in those days, Darwin was a lot different to what it is now, really. Very multicultural, and everybody seemed to know everybody. And families were very strong, and as I say, they all knew each other. So we grew up with many friends and other extended family members as well, which was great. I think when we were still young, my father decided that we would spend some time in Adelaide River, and we went down there to live for about 4 years, and we grew up in Adelaide River, going to the primary school there. My father worked on the railways, so we had a bit of history with Adelaide River there. And after about 4 years, we then returned back to Darwin and went to school again in another primary school, of course. So I think we attended quite a few primary schools in Darwin over the years we were growing up. It just seemed to be the way that Mum and Dad seemed to move around, and I think it was because Dad wanted to follow the work where he could. So we'd try and live as close to his work as possible. So so Darwin, lots of memories of my childhood days were in Darwin, roaming around on the weekends and doing things with friends and what have you. I think the old man must have had some premonition around 74, and in April of that year we came to Katherine as a family, and lo and behold, by Christmas that year, Cyclone Tracy had wiped out Darwin. So we were quite shocked by all that, and you look back on that now and you think, really we were quite lucky that we were in Katherine at that time, and unfortunate for other family members and everyone in Darwin at the time when the cyclone hit. But anyway, we started to grow up in Katherine. We went to the local Katherine area school, and all of my high school was done in that school there. Lots of memories of Katherine area school, or the high school, and teachers in those days were really, really good, friendly, seemed to genuinely care about you, and wanted to show an interest in how you were doing in life after school when you left, and over the years. And some of those teachers I still know today. So it's just a great thing, I think, for me to experience that, and it certainly has helped me. I think, in some ways it inspires you to know how to do well, and when you meet them again over, sometimes it can be years between breaks. You catch up and you say, well, I'm doing this now, and they go, wow, really? So it's really good. I think in those days, growing up in Katherine was a lot of fun. We spent a lot of time in the Katherine River with a lot of friends that I got to know, me and my brother and my sister, and it was just a lifetime of adventure around Katherine, swimming in the river, virtually from the Knots crossing through to the eye level, almost every weekend. So it was fun. I don't think Mum and Dad saw us much on the weekends at all, except at night when we had to go home and catch up with dinner and go to bed. And that was it. I think it was the later part of our high school that we decided, my twin brother John, decided that we both liked mechanics. We used to help our older brother tinker around in the backyard at home, so sort of got our interest up, and we thought by year 10 that we would look at leaving school, because that was as much as you needed to go to do a trade like the mechanical trade. So we did. We left school and got an opportunity with a local employer in town and began our apprenticeship back in 1978. We were 15 then, so starting pretty young, but we were so excited about it that we thought, this is the way to go. So see you later, school, and hello to getting some money as you work. So, and that was really good. We go to Alice Springs twice a year for a month at a time, and I'd never been to Alice Springs before. Alice Springs was a new experience for us, but it was a good experience, lots of fun, but we also had to apply ourselves, to learn and do study, and that was our first experience around some serious study to try and stay in our apprenticeships. So I think when we came back each time, that was it was a bit of a relief to come back to your employer and get back on the tools again. Really, it just puts it all into perspective that you're not there to muck around too much. You can have a bit of fun, but your employer expects a lot out of you as well. So when you come back, you really apply what you learn, and you just go on with it from there. So before too long, John decided that he would return back to Darwin, and after a couple of years, and he did that. So and I stayed on. I got married, and like I said earlier, I started to have some children. So I stayed in Katherine, completed my apprenticeship, and worked in the trade for at least a couple of years after that. And I think from there on, I started to get a bit of itchy feet, and I ended up with an opportunity as an administrator in the federal government back then, in the mid-80s. So I went off to a new stream of work, something that was completely new to me, and spent 4 years there. And after that, I decided that my tools are missing me, and I needed to dust them off again and get back into the trade. But an opportunity came up where we thought, a number of us, my friends and I, they were all mechanics as well. So 5 of us got together and we decided we would put together a mechanical repairs and maintenance business in Katherine. So we set that up in the late 80s, and we spent 3.5 years doing that quite successfully. And we all had young families at the time, so it was challenging for that as well. We weren't earning a lot of money because the business couldn't pay us a lot of money. But it was a really great experience for all of us, I think, and we all look back on that now with a lot of gratitude. We did it, and we made it, in terms of running a successful business. After that, I decided, we all decided that we'd go our own way, so we closed shop, and I went out to live in a little community, Barunga community, and spent nearly 3 years there working as a mechanic there with my family. Wanted them to experience Indigenous culture, in a different setting, and it was really good experience for them, certainly for me and my wife Barbara. And after that, we came back into Katherine really, and I got another job back in the federal government and worked my way up to senior management over nearly a 10-year period, and visited a lot of Aboriginal communities in those days because that was part of my job, and around delivering employment, career services, and setting up opportunities for local people. So I got to know a lot of people out in the communities in that time, and very rewarding for me, and I still know those people today. And then, after that, I decided I needed another change yet again, so I took up an opportunity to do a political job in the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Commission, and I ended up as the Regional Council Chairperson in Katherine, which was a council set up for the whole of the Katherine region. So 2 years, about 2.5 years there, and really political job, challenging, but having to work with a lot of community people and leaders particularly was very rewarding as well. And so, like I say, I learned a lot about politics and how to interact with the different levels of governments as well, and certainly gained a lot of experience and knowledge there. And then it wasn't long before the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Commission was to be abolished by the current federal government of the time. So I decided to move on before that happened, and I ended up in a local government organisation as the Chief Executive Officer then. And pretty much that evolved into a bigger council where I am still there today. So still the Chief Executive Officer there, and delivering, an array of services to all the Aboriginal communities and remote townships in the eastern side of the Katherine region. So really enjoyable job. I love it. Lots of experience and lots of learning that I'm gaining, and very, very good for that. So that's pretty much where I've come from and where I am today. So I hope that I can inspire others, and my story, is can be achieved by anyone, and that's pretty much it, really. Thanks very much.